at Bowling Green. He was the MAC Player of the Year over there. Came over to the Pacific Northwest and is doing a really good job for the University of Washington. When you see that lineup of 11, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a tremendous luxury for Jamie Clark to be able to bring a player like Achille Robin into the lineup. And with that kind of leadership, as you mentioned last year, kind of an eligibility wash, so you just get a bonus year of playing games, playing together. And that is a tremendous amount of experience in the back line that this young Portland team really has to be very disciplined and patient in attack to go at, because they're not going to get many chances, but when they do, they really have to make the most of them.
For the University of Portland lineup on your screen right now, it's still probably going to stay a 4-4-2 as well, but a lot of mixing and mashing here. No Cortez to a red card, Artiega out with injury, and Bonilla, who started every game this season from a fullback position, not in the starting lineup. There's a lot going on here. Maybe there's some fullbacks in midfield, some new forwards out there as well. A lot of proving opportunity for this Portland squad.
Oh, absolutely. I talked to Nick Carlin-Voigt before the game, and there's a number of players out here that were a game-time decision based on availability of other players and fitness to go, and this is the lineup that he's going with, and it's a great opportunity for players that maybe haven't gotten the minutes, haven't gotten the starting opportunities that they have wanted so far to come in and prove that they can be a critical cog in Carlin-Voigt's machine as they head into WCC play.
This may be projecting on the affair, but let's say Portland are defending. A massive player for them has to be Brandon Cambridge. He has more pace than anybody on this pitch. He likes to take it directly to you. He's a very aggressive player. He's won 2 penalties this year, scored one of them himself, has an assist from the Seattle U game, and frankly, I think he was the reason they won last time they were at home. So be sure to watch out for him on the right side, and across from Wesley Frankel as well. Only a couple of starts this season, a big one against UCSD, and perhaps the biggest moment of his young Portland career, the hometown kid, was the game winner against Seattle U, where it was headed on through him, had a nice, beautiful finish into the bottom right of the net.
Absolutely, that was a great game last week that we all got to watch, and it really is, you mentioned the wingers, one of my top key of this game for the Pilots is manage the transition moments, and for Portland, defensively, that's that critical moment right after you turn the ball over. Portland got caught and has been getting caught in those fast break attack moments right at the moment of transition, so it's going to be down to Cambridge and Frankel to really tuck back, pin back, and slow the attack down. Once the Pilots can slow the attack down and keep the game in front of them, they do a great job at defending and managing those moments.
Last time University of Washington and UP met at Merlo Field, it was results that went the home team's way. The Pilots, number 20 in the rankings at the time, upset number 9 Washington 1-0 on September 14, 2018. A year later, Washington had the last laugh, beating them 1-0. UP generally fared well against Pac-12 opponents last time against UCLA, their first ever regular season win down in Southern California. But right now, that's on the back burner. Clive's Army is up on their feet and ready to go, and so are we. 0-0's on the clock. Hugo Fofana is going to start with the ball at midfield. Your referee for today's game is Cedric Adams, wearing a neon yellow kit with black shorts. He'll probably have some big decisions to make as well in this affair. Big game for the ref as well. Looks down at his watch, sets the time. Whistle goes, and we're underway at Merlo Field after a slight hesitation by Fofana, and RJ Stretch is going to send it far into the right side of the field. Cambridge under the ball. Cambridge is someone who can play out wide. We've also seen him at the top of a 4-4-2. Kind of looks like he's in that position right now.
I think a lot of what Carlin-Voigt's offense is going to hinge on tonight is the rotation of players, being able to tuck in, play multiple positions, push out, and really fill the spaces. If one guy goes, another guy has to come in, find his space, tuck in, and fill that position.
And just the early defensive shape, it looks like University of Washington is playing more of a 4-3-3 with Dylan Tevez, the central attacking midfielder, running the show. RJ Stretch started 4 games this season, make this his 5th. He's in midfield with Delence Pierre picking up the left back position. Up the line, Tevez has 2 on him, splits the difference, can't make it all the way through though. Saylor chests it down to the midfield. Washington on the attack out left, trickle into the final third. On the periphery of the box now inside, O'Hara wants to get that out of the house. exits, and now it's going to be a goal kick for Tassoris.
And that's a good example of managing the transition moment there for Portland, really getting numbers behind the ball, slowing down this potent Washington attack, making sure that they can't find a shot on goal within 2 or 3 passes of them regaining possession.
Perhaps the only surprise addition to the Washington starting lineup would be Ryan Crowley. Just 148 minutes total this season. This is his second start, looking for his first goal as a Husky. Goal kick retained by Washington. Burks has a look up the line, instead drags it back for himself. Washington favoring the left side, going to the middle. Tevez is there, heads up in the air. Pierre the first to it. Hendel fouled from behind. Hendel, someone primarily known as an attacker. He has 2 starts this year for a reason. Created the game-winning goal against UC San Diego. But it looks like in this shape, he's playing that Artiega role as the central midfielder.
Yeah, Carlin Voigt's really had to get creative with slotting in some of these players, and as I mentioned in the pregame, you know, really comes down to a game time decision as to whether some players are available to play tonight, and as a result, shifting players around and finding where they can be creative and give players their best chance to shine, as well as putting it together for the team.
Strong boot up, aiming for Cambridge, finds his way to Ortiz and then booted out. Believe it or not, George Tassoris, more than just a keeper with an excellent save percentage of over 800, actually had an assist for the game winner against Seattle University. Booted it long to Cambridge. Cambridge headed up to Frankel, who finished the job. Uwe Fofana. I talked about Cambridge having the most pace on the field. Fofana may have a slight issue with my statement there as he runs onto the ball. Headed off by Saylor. Somehow kept in play. Here is Fofana, 4 in the vicinity, leaves it off for Frankel. Frankel has a shot with the left boot right into the midst of Sam Fowler. First shot on goal for either squad.
And that's good. A good little bit of first blood to draw for the Pilots out of both teams. Great patience in the buildup. That was my second real key to the game for the Pilots, is to really find those opportunities against this very experienced Washington defense and have the patience to play the ball, keep the ball, and take your moments as they come.
Good crowd here at Merlot Fields. Perhaps the biggest since their last Pac-12 opponent, Oregon State. The Beavers were number 22 at the time. Portland played well, but found themselves down 2-0 at halftime, and that's all she wrote. Here's Burks, who had a goal against Seattle U on Monday. Hendel had good positioning, unfortunately took a chop at the legs of Kendall Burks. Free kick coming. Tevez trots onto it. Here's another look at that.
Here we see him chop through, and yeah, just catches the play, just catches the ball, the play through the shins there. And it's not a bad foul to give up in that position, but in terms of where we are at on the field, this is going to be a dangerous opportunity for the Huskies, and Portland really has to make sure that they're managing this service into the penalty area.
Portland playing their line exactly 18 yards out. Tevez runs past, service comes in, it's low. O'Hara is able to deal with it. Back out to Ostrom. Fed back into the box with Saylor, who heads it down. And finally out of danger. Nick Carlin Voigt could have been there to stop the ball. It doesn't. Perhaps if it was going the other way, we'd have a different conversation. Burke scored the first goal against Seattle. And then the man up top today for Washington, Nick Scardinia, had the game winner in the 99th minute. Assistant referee taking a look at the ball, and we got a fresh one into the hands of the fullback for Washington. Ball's all over the pitch, but Burks waits for the whistle and goes long with the throw. Dylan Pierre defending. Alejandro Pereira, number 9, playing up top. If Pereira can outplay the other number 9 on Washington, Tevez, Portland stand a very good chance in this game. Hendel's in the area, gets rid of it. Calls for a handball by Washington, none given by Cedric Adams.
Only a few players really reaching for that call there, and nobody else on the pitch really seemed to be protesting too much about it. So just a little bit of nothing from a little bit of nothing there.
Yeah, my general rule is if the player who committed the supposed foul doesn't put his hands up, then it's probably not a penalty. Cambridge and Fofana near each other. Fofana tries to chip it past Saylor, but Saylor uses his big frame to push it out of play off of the shin pads. Ryan Saylor, most of the players on this team hail from the West Coast. Saylor, Continental Colorado, had 1 assist against Seattle from his center back position. Holder of 3 clean sheets this season as well. Fofana chips it forward to Franco, but too much sauce behind it. Now into the midfield with Tevez, who hops over a pair of a sliding challenge. Shifts it out left. Into the heart of midfield. Attempted give and go is a little bit too high. Now it comes across, going to the back post. Out of reach for Burks. This is a UW team. We see it just in the statistics. Charlie Ostrom had 11 assists this season, last season in 2020. These are fullbacks that really like to get forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is one of the reasons that the Huskies have done so well this season. They have scored 15 goals to their opponents' 3, and really it has to do with where they're drawing their attack from. Anytime you can get your fullbacks involved in the attack, that creates a problem for the opposing team, because they really have to figure out where they're going to pick up that player defensively. So it's going to be an issue for the Pilots to continue to manage that threat.
Charlie Ostrom may have been Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, but he has the output of 90% of Pac-12 forwards. 11 assists and a goal last season. Here he is on the ball.
He's been a little quiet this season so far, but in his 5 games, he's got 1 assist, and so really looking for him to get going too. Jamie Clark is.
333 minutes to his name this season. Tack on an extra 8 right here. Scoreline still stands 0-0. Scardini had it inside, leaves it off. Edge of the box. Left footed shot, curling up and over. Good attempt, similar to Frankel a couple of minutes ago. This one, though, not on target. Kalani Kosa Rienzi had 1 assist against Grand Canyon this year. Played every second, all 99 minutes against Seattle U on Monday. Over 500 minutes on the season. He was the first true freshman to earn a postseason primary assist since a name in Portland that's pretty familiar, Blake Bodley, in 2017.
Fofana, well done. Get behind the ball, stop that transition, stop that quick transition, and now let's watch the Huskies build up.
Portland, they usually restart play from Artiega in midfield. He's obviously not there. UW alternatively love to start with their fullbacks. Actually, a rare fullback to fullback pass right there. Ball into the box, headed back towards the frame, and then Delance Pierre there to save the day. Cambridge has 1 in his back. See if he can get around. Does well, doesn't quite get around, but gets the whistle instead. Opportunity to restart for Portland. Burks.
And this is where we talked about the flexibility of this Pilot lineup. Cambridge has switched to the left side after starting the beginning of the game. First few minutes was over on the right side of the field, and that's what kind of the creativity and unpredictability that Carlin Voigt is going for in attack, just to really try to unbalance this Husky back line.
Ostrom heads the goal kick out of play. It's going to be thrown for Portland inside of Washington territory. Stretch, gives it to Pereira. Frankel back to him. And a slow ball over to Hendel. Pereira had a streaking Ortiz outright, instead decides to go back to the defense. Just think about this for Jalen Rodwell, a freshman who's played more minutes than any other freshman on this squad, has really made that center back position along with O'Hara his own. This is the biggest test, frankly, of his career right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the thing about a lot of these players that Carlin Voigt recruits, though, is that they are West Coast players, as you've mentioned. They come from some of the top academy programs, and so some of these pressure cooker environments really aren't pressure cooker to them because they've come out of programs that have really trained them to be disciplined and have a good approach to these games and not really have that level of freshman nervousness. They've got that experience.
Yeah, a lot of these players have played each other at the academy level as well. Jamie Clark talked about after the Seattle U game, half of these guys have played against one another. Certainly nobody wants to lose that game. That was an intense affair, absolutely. Ortiz fighting for it. Cable as a fullback and a forward. Looks like he's playing a wide position right now. Gets a roar of applause from Clive's Army as he wins the ball. Was nudged from behind. Cedric Adams ways for him to get up. 12th minute of action, still 0-0. Portland usually not a team that is hot out of the gates, piercing the back of the net. Like to settle into games. Andrew talked about slowing the tempo down. Not 100% successful at that, but you have to like what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is again what I talked about with Tesouris at the beginning of the match. You know, you have to be disciplined and you have to be gritty with the high-powered offense like Washington's. They've been out shooting opponents almost at a rate of 2-1 this season, and really there you really have to make sure that you're coming in, you're defending hard, you're sticking your tackles, and you're just disciplined in what you're doing. Not only disciplined on a 1v1 and 2v2 matchup level, but as a team, what's your shape? Who are you marking? Making sure that you have your responsibility and you're taking care of it for your team. Have that discipline, and then, you know, don't be afraid to throw your body in front of something.
First corner kick of the game for either squad coming up. An in-swinger with the left foot headed away. Good defense by Portland. Saylor was happy to let it go out of play, but Portland was pressuring. It's going to stay Washington ball. That was Burks over it, not Saylor. Talked about the shots entering tonight. Washington on the season 100, their opponents 56. 1-1 reads the scoreboard right now in shots tonight. Ostrom, Australian by where the players are on the pitch, getting ready for a long throw-in. It's by the end line, and then Pereira is draped all over Saylor to get it out of the box. Cross comes back in, falls awkwardly. Tesouris not troubled yet, and then an over-the-head kick by Fofana. All 11 purple kits in their own box. Now they're trying to break the other way. Hendel, the tallest player on the pitch for Portland, tries to show his pace, but the pass a couple of strides ahead of Frankel. Good positioning by Fowler as well.
I really, really liked that opportunity there from Hendel, and you know, he's coming up the pitch, he gets his head up, he sees exactly where he wants it. It's the right ball to play, just the wrong pace and just a little bit too directed at Fowler there, but that's where Portland's going to find their opportunities, is just like that.
Tevez's cross was a smidge over the oncoming runners. Portland trying to defend another cross here. It comes in, headed away by Rodwell. And then it is all over the place in their own box. They finally get rid of it. Could have been scary for a second. That's how they conceded their second goal to Seattle. Ostrom wipes off the ball. As an onward look with plenty of pilot students in his ear.
Yeah, make no mistake, this is a Seattle-Portland rivalry. I don't care where any of a UW team or a Seattle U team or a Portland team is in the national rankings. Anytime you see this game come up on your schedule in the preseason, both teams circle it on the calendar. It is a huge rivalry, and having the Huskies ranked third in the country with the Pilots for an opportunity to hand them their first loss makes it even that much of a bigger game.
Sure to see the physicality pickup of these two teams.
Absolutely.
When Washington played Seattle on Monday, 7 yellow cards, 37 combined fouls, but Cambridge has the ball on running, has it on his left foot, takes a shot, chipped away Incredible defense by Achille Robin.
That was tremendous recovery from Robin there to get back, find that opportunity. Cambridge was in. What a great ball, and Robin just comes through and disrupts Cambridge enough to have him put that shot off frame.
How about this? Doesn't even concede a corner either. Robin with the best play of the game so far, you have to say. Here he is on the ball, hands it over to Burks. Talk about this being an experienced back line. They're also tall, 6'4", 6'2" at the center back position. That's a luxury not many can afford, and they move so well. We saw Robin, the 6'2" frame right there, catch up to Cambridge.
A lot of the default attack position in the college game does come from crossing, and so when you have two center backs that big, it really does make a team that relies on crossing as a key part of their attack really have to think twice about what they're doing in their offensive setup.
Certainly see Washington favor the crossing approach instead of going centrally. Burks is going to leave the throw. Koso Renenzi. Koso Renenzi going to go along with the throw-in. Most white jerseys no closer than 20 yards to him. Ortiz, in fact, the closest Pilot. Ball able to hit the pitch. Still not out yet. At last, out of play, another throw-in coming for Washington, about 5 yards further towards the midfield line. Awkward angle for a header. Give props to Tevez for even getting a noggin on it.
Two different looks there from Kosariense off the throw, and the long throw coming in, and then the short throw that just comes back in here. And it's Christian Soto with a great ball in. That's a low, whipped, driven cross in at an angle that are so hard to defend. And as a goalkeeper, it's a nightmare because any kind of deflection that comes in there, you're just simply not ready for.
One thing I haven't seen this season from a Portland perspective, all 11 behind the ball. Every time Washington has it deep inside inside Portland's final third, all 11 are behind the ball with at least half of them inside the box getting ready to head it away. And then they'll take any room to breathe they can get. You see it off of the Tasso Reese's goal kick. Everyone's hanging out around the midway line. Hendel waiting for a Washington player to tie the shoe. Clock will be stopped. Cambridge runs to him. Instead, it's going to go to Pereira. Chips it once, chips it twice, still has it in the air. And then booted backwards by Washington. Burks has a good touch forward. RJ Stretch intercepts. Pereira, audacious ball to Fofana. Kept in play, fed down the line, but Pierre is there. Goes back up to Hendel. Rodwell had Scardinia running onto him, gives it back to the keeper. Right-footed kick aiming for Ortiz. Misreads the kick a little bit. Delence Pierre had his first home game in nearly 2 years. Their last home game at Merlot Field.
It's always good to get back and play on this field. It's picture perfect. Kevin White, the field manager for the Pilots, just keeps this pitch in absolutely perfect condition.
First time I came to the campus, I said, is that grass or turf? And when it is grass and you're mistaking it for turf, you're probably doing a good job.
Yeah, he's outstanding. He's done an outstanding job managing this facility.
As I was saying, Delence Pierre, first game in almost 2 years against Seattle U, at 21 minutes against Cal State Northridge, but before his injury, tremendously talented player. Still has that talent, just going to take a couple of games to get back to full speed. In 2020, a season he did not play, he was named All-WCC preseason team. And in 2019, he started every game, bar the first, had 2 goals and assists, and was named All-WCC freshman team. So still listed eligibility-wise, he's a sophomore. Academically, he's a junior, but still has a lot of soccer left to play in his UP career. And that's a weapon that Nick Carlin-Voigt has to surely be excited to use.
Oh, absolutely. Again, it's the tough times of the past year, the pandemic has been absolutely horrific for so many people, and you can't understate that. And these college athletes getting another year of eligibility because of it is just the best thing that the NCAA could do, because it's just been such a difficult thing for everybody to manage and try to work through. So many kids not able to play, not able to come back to school, and it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, there were some conferences like the Big West where it didn't have a season. Portland had kind of a bit and piece season. A lot of games were canceled. Give credit to Washington. While they didn't play the full amount, no cancellations of games, and still made it in the Elite Eight. And with that, COVID extra year of eligibility, we're going to see some of the best men's and women's NCAA teams we've seen in years. Someone like Ryan Saylor, a redshirt senior defender, he's been at the program since 2016.
Yeah.
I was in high school and then graduated college when he went to the University of Washington. 22nd minute. UW largely on the front foot, but the only thing that matters is the 0-0 scoreline.
Harlan Voigt has to like what he sees out of the Pilots so far. They've managed the big moments, managed the transition well, and the defense is doing a great job so far of keeping the game in front of them and not letting the Huskies find any seams through their lines.
University of Washington do primarily score their goals in the second 45, 7-1. They've outscored their opponents in second halves. Whistle blows. Going to be, I believe, a re-throw-in. RJ Stretch, who you broke to the news to me pre-game, usually a fullback, a really good fullback as well, going into midfield.
Yeah, that just gives that midfield, just shores them up defensively when you have somebody, again, coming in from a defensive position, from that back line position, but from that also an attacking fullback position to really keep the game in front of him, manage the back line, make sure that he's protecting any gaps so that the ball doesn't go into Saylor's feet. He's trying to make sure the ball doesn't go into Tevis's feet, and really try to restart something from the back line wherever he can.
Ortiz was a hair away from intercepting the pass and starting a counterattack. Instead, Washington register a shot on Tasser Reese. Good rebound control as well. Fofana running through the middle. Hendel picks his head up. Outside the boot pass to Pereira. Over to Cambridge. Inside of the box. Takes it to his right foot. Registers a shot. Deflected out for a throw-in.
And here you see Hendel had another chance coming down the field. He picks his head up. He looks for the opportunities. You watch the replay on the shot here. No problems there for Thesaurus. But Hendel had that other chance. He picks his head up, finds the opportunity, and instead of trying to play it through, then finds that opportunity through the middle, and the Pilots go out the other side. So really just not trying to be predictable. Obviously trying to do something different each time he's down the field, and keep this Husky back line guessing.
Got the ball to Cambridge in the spot where he's most dangerous against Sacramento State in the 4th minute. That's exactly how he won a penalty and scored the goal off of it. 24th minute. Portland recycle it to their back line. Rodwell over to Pierre. Hands it back to him. Takes a step up. Over to O'Hara. Last game, a disappointing loss to Cal State Northridge, who was 0-7 entering the game. So definitely a mixed weekend for the Portland Pilots, beating Seattle, who at the time were receiving votes, a massive result after being down 2-0. And then not a lot of time. You travel down to Northern California. Yeah, a travel day, you have one day off, and you're playing soccer the very next day. So you can call it a trap game if you like, but everyone's going to forget about that if they get a result here.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's difficult sometimes when you do have a team that's younger, older, trying to find the balance of a rivalry game like the game with the Seattle youth program. They've turned it into the coffee cup, and, you're down 2-0. You have the emotions riding high after a 3-2 win. That was just a great game all the way around. And then, yeah, you've got to travel and try to kind of keep that high energy, high enthusiasm going, and it's difficult. It's hard. You've got to remember that these kids are still 20 years old, 19 years old, trying to manage that.
Portland launching the other way. Fofana still has a register shot low. Did 90% right, but the shot just not in either corner, instead right at Fowler.
Watch him here as he goes at. He just gets these players to bite a couple times, and that's you know, he gets a shield Robin going the other way, and that's not an easy thing to do with Robin's experience and what he brings to this Husky team. And Fofana had him going both ways and manages to keep the shot on frame, but you're right, he's got to do better there. Make it something difficult for Fowler to get.
Opportunities have been there for the men in purple. I should say the Portland men in purple. Washington wearing a white kit with, I believe, navy purple lines across the front. Portland, and they're all purple kits with a black sided up top. They're attacking from right to left, have the ball in defense right now. It's an absolutely beautiful night at Merlo Field. A hot day has made way to a perfect night in North Portland. Sailor not bested by the undersized Fofana there. UW creating triangles around the back, go over to Sailor. Ostrom goes inside, finds Soto. Soto feeds Burks. Scardina wanted it, was calling for the pass through the middle. Instead broken up by UP. Strong shoulder off the ball. They're going to call it clean, and Washington regains. Shot wide.
And that's Ostrom coming through from that outside back position, left back position, coming in for the shot on pretty central part of the field. As he comes through, and this is where he had several players not making it easy. Don't make the shot easy on him. Make it difficult. He's got two players around the ball there for Portland, and he just pushes it wide.
It didn't trouble Tasser Reese as we're about to get our first substitution of the game, but still impressive. Even got that shot off. You're in a dangerous area with three purple jerseys surrounding you.
Here we see Kevin Bonilla now coming into the game for the Pilots.
Bonilla usually a fullback. Looks like he is going to be checking into that right back position, but he has a ton of attacking talent as well. Has a goal and assist on the season. The primary reason they beat their first Pac-12 opponent this season, UCLA, scored an absolute screamer from the top right side of the box. Hendel gives it to Frankel, trying to find Fofana inside, and then cleaned up by Burks. O'Hara just pops it up. We'll see if he can head it down. No, he cannot. Now Ostrom on the ball, far out left. Fighting for it near the corner flag. We'll see which direction it goes. It's going to not remain Washington ball. Instead, a goal kick for Portland.
And that was a really critical play there by Wesley Frankel. As you saw him come through, Hendel is caught up the field. He's coming into the attack. He's played a couple give and goes. He's on top of Washington's penalty area. And that's that quick counterattack that I talked about, is that manage the transition moments. UW's out in one or two passes, and it's Frankel coming, probably making about a 20 or 30 yard run, disrupting the attack from Washington. Now, they're still able to get it up the field, but that disruption allows Portland to get more players behind the ball, and again, really then start to manage the game and manage that transition moment.
Pierre tried to find Cambridge, cannot. See his defensive duties here. Scardina inside, left off. Ostrom has it. Feeds a good ball in with the left. Top of the box for UW. Good turn by Pereira. Bonilla gets it caught on the back of his heels for a second. Had Frankel running through the middle, instead goes to Cambridge out wide and given off to Fowler. Kick is aimed for Clive's Army. We'll see if it stays in play. Cedric Adams, no decision yet. This time aims his arm out left. It's going to be throwing for Portland. Bonilla, rarity not to start tonight. Started all 8 games before that. The only time he really came out was for a facial injury against Sacramento State. Other than that, it's been his position. Poor pass by the Pilots. Now the Huskies looking to go the other way. Rienzi now out left. Fake cross. The pass to Ostrom was a attempted give and go, and now Ostrom does have it. Washington playing within the far corner. Dangerous spot. Beats one. Cortez beaten, but the pass up top was cleared away by UP. Soto was the man who dribbled past a couple and rounded the keeper towards the end line, though, so a situation where you can breathe. But this first touch there, really good to beat Rodwell, and the pass, Pierre's there to clear it away.
Yeah, that Scardina, I'm surprised he was that open in the box and does very well with his first touch. You see him take a peek over his shoulder and look to where he wants to play that, and that touch is so critical to beat the first defender that comes up on him. That starts to close that space and really start to cause problems for the Pilots.
Under 15 minutes to go in the first half, still zeros on the board at this point in the Seattle U game. Portland just gave up their first and they're minutes away from conceding their second, but right now, a better situation for sure. Pereira, good touchdown. Shows the dribbling acumen as well, gives it to Bonilla. Bonilla aiming for Cambridge, somehow still falls to him. Has his back towards net, gives it to Pereira. He's 30 yards out. Has Hendel out left, instead is gonna go to the fullback there instead. Stretch. Reaches O'Hara on the pass. Now gonna restart with Rodwell. Portland slow, methodical, but possession is the best form of defense, frankly.
Yeah, it's just patient. Right now, all 11 of the Huskies players are in their own defensive half, and what Portland's really trying to do is try to inch those lines a little bit farther apart, find some gaps for their players to run in, and so holding that ball in that back line really allows those gaps to develop as the Washington players start to creep forward in impatience there.
Strung together double-digit passes, lost it on the periphery of the box, but now Portland's going to reset and try again. Given a stretch. Has Hendel to the left, it's going to take up the option. Hendel forced to stop his momentum, but has Burks to beat. Defensive help comes. Hendel gets it into Fofana. Over to Frankel. Frankel to Bonilla. Bonilla has a thought, takes it to his left side, over to Pereira. Takes it further left, Hendel on the ball. Try to find Cambridge. Nervy moments for the Washington back line as there's a UW player down.
And it looks like that's Gabe Threadgold for the Huskies. Really well done here from Portland. Would have liked to see Hendel, instead of trying to force it, drop it back again to Frankel. Yeah, that's Threadgold coming through there.
Hendel kind of had a hockey-like check into the jumping Threadgold.
And again, I see what Hendel's idea was there, where he wanted to go, but just too many players. Again, don't force it, as we'll see a yellow card for Hendel there late, but try to drop it back there to Frankel. Again, pull the players, pull the Huskies out of shape, try to get them to press in frustration and look for that one player that's going to leave their shape out of discipline, or out of lack of discipline, and try to pull those teams apart farther.
Yeah, the first yellow card of this game is going to belong to Hendel. In Washington's last two games, they have a combined 14 yellow cards, so the fact it's taken over half an hour to get one in this one, frankly, a surprise for the Huskies.
Well, and again, for a Portland-Washington matchup, as a rivalry matchup, you know, the game has been very well contested by both teams. Not a lot of really sloppy, hard, terrible fouls in it. Everything's been good. Everything's been fair. A lot of really clean challenges for both sides.
Now we have a moment, unfortunately, due to injury. We should highlight why the Washington Huskies are the #3 team in the country. Certainly it's what they've done this year, but the recent history, 5 straight 12-win seasons. They've had 24 consecutive weeks as a top 10 team in the country. That's the longest streak in the country. The only two teams ahead of them right now are Georgetown and Clemson. And 6 straight wins this season is their best start since 2006. They're on the periphery of a Final Four right now. Back-to-back Elite Eights. They've been awfully close, but they're knocking on the door. They want to bust it down, and they're certainly in a position to do so as the #3 team in the country.
Oh, absolutely, and they play in a really difficult conference, and that's where they're going to get a lot of the opportunity to continue to show themselves. I think that they did actually end up finishing second. They were edged out just slightly by Stanford in the Pac-12 coaches poll, preseason coaches poll, and so they were picked to finish second. And so that, with the level of talent on this team, can put a little bit of a chip on your shoulder as you go into it to really try to earn that spot ahead of them.
Burks to the right, has some space, launches a shot. Pierre sticks out at the back of his ankle, gets contact on it. Second shot coming in, deflected again by Bonilla. And while this may sound ironic, Washington 6-0, not unbeatable. They have 3 overtime wins, and teams that aren't in the top 25 are certainly able to take the full 90 to them.
Yeah, they went, Seattle U went toe-to-toe with them on Monday night, took them to overtime. You know, it's really been a difficult road for them to win their last couple games. They had to beat Utah Valley in overtime. So the last 2 games for them have finished 2-1, which again, as we talked about with the Pilots, coming off their emotional win 3-2 over Seattle U last week and getting a loss, that very well could be way the Huskies are going with 2 very draining wins under their belt. In
that Utah Valley game in Utah, talked about the 2-1 results. 7 combined yellow cards in that game, and it was their first time conceding in 357 minutes. So before that, defensively, they were excellent. Utah Valley, though, not an incredible team. 3-1-2 on the campaign. Played Washington awfully well. Shots were evened up at 14 apiece. But back to the action here where Bonilla has it. Does well to get it past the top of one. Certainly has showed fresh legs since coming in. Exactly what Nick Carlin-Voigt's going to want him to do. Not lose the ball, though, as he did right there. Tevez can't get around. Going to stay with a white jersey and fed up the left line. Tassaris, kind of a miscommunication there. Thankfully, the trajectory was into the box so he could pick it up.
I think it's just more of a shielding there, that they really wanted that ball to be able to restart from back there. And when you looked, you saw Rodwell was like, oh man, are you going to be able to get it? Was just trying to make sure that he was going to be able to get there in time.
Portland a couple of yards away. Now they are inside Washington's final third. Leave it off to Pereira. He's been the one pretty much pulling the strings for Portland. Most of their attacks this season have come from wide positions, primarily Cambridge, and usually Nava from the other side. But today it's been Hendel a lot from the left and Pereira in the middle. Should mention a substitution that happened during the injury stoppage. Sebastian Nava, who's this team's leading goal scorer with 2 goals, came into the game. Out left with Washington. Shot coming, quickly blocked by Bonilla.
I do believe it was Imani Rosales who came in for UW for Thread Gold.
A pair of number 10s entered the game. Nava's on the left here. An option for the pass. The best one Pereira had. Had a goal in the opener against Air Force and a goal last home game against Seattle U. His penalty was the one that tied it at 2. Hendel trying to be a little bit too fancy there, Ange.
Well, he's got 3 players onto him. He dribbled himself into a position where he really gave himself no options, and there weren't really any good options for players to run off the ball. Any players running past him would have been offside, and he really did seal himself off with that 3rd player coming in behind from any help behind him.
Pereira. Saylor there to intervene. Cambridge still has it, though. Cross low. Had to get past a couple of Huskies before it made his way to Nava. Poor out ball by University of Washington as Cedric Adams hits the deck. Hendel back to stretch.
And here's where you'll see Portland again play it patient, look to pull this front line for UW closer to that back line, really start to try to find that gap. As they do, you'll see Frankel playing in a little bit of a bigger gap between the midfield and the forward line, as we see Pereira just check into that space.
Nava over to Hendel. Breathing on the edge of the end line. Gives it back to Nava at the top of the box. Portland certainly the younger team in these two matchups, but not shorter of talent. Bonilla is met by two immediately. Made the run after the pass. Nava didn't take it up though. Nava has a shot with the right foot. Fowler again. Took a hop before into the chest of the Washington keeper.
And this is really well done from Nava here, looking for try to find these opportunities. And I think all three of those UW players expected him to find another pass there, and he just says, okay, you're giving me enough space. I'm going to try to put it on frame and see. With 10 players behind the ball at that point for UW, you could also likely get a pretty good opportunity at a deflection.
Two subs getting ready for UW. About 7 minutes left in the half. Burks rounds Hendel in a very creative way. Has it on the end line, sends it across into the Portland sky. Good play by Burks to get around Hendel.
Yeah, Hendel's been absolutely outstanding tonight, and it's not easy to do what Burks just did, which is just play that little ball and then outrun your player around him on the other side to pick it up at the end. But Kendall Burks is continuing to bring the energy for this Husky team well into the 39th minute of the game.
Nick Scardina is going to check out for Elijah Paul up top, the forward from Gilbert, Arizona. The freshman hasn't played that much, just 30 minutes last game, 4 games played total. Was a member of the University of San Francisco last year. Also Kai Briscoe checking into the game. From Renton, Washington, part of the Sounders Academy, as many are. He also has 19 appearances for Seattle Sounders 2 in the USL, which is the division just below the MLS, so has some high-level soccer playing experience.
And he came on for Gio Miglietti, who's been, carrying a lot of the physical load, doing a lot of the heavy challenging for this Husky team, and so it'll be interesting to see how this game changes without Miglietti's presence.
Hendel, bombarded in his own area. Good ball out to Pereira. Pereira there kind of voluntarily dribbled it out of the own box, but did create some space for himself. Ostrom keeps it in. Trying to feed into the fresh-legged Elijah Paul. Good fight for the ball between Cambridge and Saylor. Nava tried to leave it off to Pereira, gets it caught in his own laces. Now Stretch intervenes. Safe ball over to Bonilla. See how aggressive he decides to be. Ruben clears it away. Washington ping-ponging passes in their own area, now look to break. Briscoe gave it over to Tevez. Looks like Briscoe is checking into that right wing position, but especially when they're defending, I've been keeping an eye on this Washington shape. They're very fluid across this front line, Tevez especially.
Well, yeah, and you look at Briscoe already has been so dynamic, and I think, what Jamie Clark might be looking at is how to keep Luke Hendel home for the Pilots, how to make sure he's not getting the attacking moments that he has been. And a great counter to that is to bring in Kai Briscoe, who has already had some pretty dynamic runs and is giving Luke Hendel a moment's pause when he is running in on the attack.
Brennan Cambridge is certainly going to need to be needed in the second half. He's going to get an extended breather here along with halftime as Jacob Babale comes into the game. Babale just one start of the season against Sacramento State, but had a crucial game-winning goal against the University of California, San Diego a couple of weeks ago.
And that's really what's been great to see about this Pilot team is that, Sebastian Nava is leading them with 2 goals, but they have all of their other goals, single goal scorers. They haven't looked to any one person to really shoulder the load. It's gone throughout the team. Everybody's had their opportunity and their moment to step up, and they have.
Well, the midfield depth is certainly being questioned with no Artiega, no Christophoros Cortez due to a red card. The forward depth has not been an issue this year at all, certainly of capable goal scorers.
But I really like how Carlin Voigt has countered here with RJ Stretch, as we see on the ball in the midfield, and Frankel. The work that those two have done so far alongside Pereira has been instrumental to this scoreline so far in the game.
Hendel uses his physicality well. And Frankel is someone we've generally seen in the attacking position. Hasn't usually been a central midfielder, but has done a good job in the heart of the 4-4-2 today. RJ Stretch has taken up more of the Cortez role. Obviously not a like-for-like, a little bit different player, while Frankel has picked up the Arteaga slack. 2.5 minutes to go in the half. Just a reminder for those watching, there's no stoppage time in NCAA soccer, so once the horn goes at 45, that's it. Briscoe in the bright orange boots gets around a couple.
You see Tevez now there off the left shoulder of Hendel, looking for his opportunity. Really quiet from Tevez. He had some moments in the first part of the first half, but probably not on the ball as much as he has wanted to be so far.
Washington's such a fluidly attacking team. University of Portland have done a really good job. They're not necessarily man marking, it's more zonal as Tevez grabs the ball off of Rodwell. Couple of step overs. Leaves it off to a teammate. Cross coming in. Good hat out. So I was saying, Portland's been doing a good job zonal defending, kind of just keeping the white jerseys in front of them at all times. And while the crosses have been bombarded in, it's like Portland's gotten the better of all of them.
Yeah, and that was really critical defending there from Pereira as we see the ball coming out here, but it's a tough one for Briscoe.
Right to the temple, but seems to be okay.
Yeah. Just a slip out of the back line there as we saw from the Pilots. I think that was Rodwell who slipped coming out of the back, and it was Pereira who came back, was disciplined enough to come back from his attacking mid position and had that ball clear off the cross.
Robin coming up from center back, showing the pace for a big fella, gets slide tackled, no whistle. Really good challenge by UP. Briscoe gets hit in the head again, but this time just a nudge. Frankel, tackle from behind, that's gonna be a whistle. We'll see if any colors are shown.
It's going to start to get chippy. It's towards the end of the half. People want to, both teams really were trying to push. The Huskies especially really want to try to get that goal to send the other team dejected in before halftime. And you see the late challenge there. And then, yeah, it's just Kendall Burks coming there and catching the back of the legs for the foul.
No complaint there. Just 20 seconds left in the half. Hendel most likely going to boot this long. Bonilla and Babale, the far options outright. That's what he's going to do with 5 seconds left. Headed up once, and then Ostrom boots it in to the Portland night sky. We have a 0-0 first half. University of Portland, you have to be happy. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more University of Portland versus University of Washington soccer. It's been a great opening 45. Can't wait to talk about it.
As high school kids, the top recruits are looking at the big schools. And as a fifth year, they take a different perspective, like, wait a minute, where can I be successful? Not bricks and mortar, but from culture and performance perspective. And I think that's why a lot of these guys have chosen to come to University of Portland, because they want to be a part of something that's proven success.
You know, when you get here, UP is just really a community. The guys here just, you know, they're kind of grinders. They're a little bit overlooked at some point in their life, and I think that kind of just brings people together a little bit more.
You young guys especially, the biggest mistake that you're going to make in your baseball career is not learning something from Chris. It's the biggest mistake you're ever going to make is if you don't glean something from Chris Clemens.
It was a really big team atmosphere, and I love that about it.
As a grad transfer, I was looking for just intimacy, you know, academically and athletically. I was looking to go to a smaller school. One of the biggest pluses of going to a smaller school is getting to know everybody and having that personal support. You know, one of the things I love about UP is, you know, I know pretty much everyone's name when I walk around the athletic department. I think it's easy for people to be their best selves when they know they have support, and I think UP does a great job of providing that.
Whether it's, you know, the experience that these players bring in from a Pac-12 school or an ACC school, you know, I think the competitive nature that they bring, I think the knowledge that they have has been really helpful for our group. The biggest part, though, is they've come in seamlessly and have been really important pieces in regards to leadership and chemistry within our team.
I know some people are worried about, you know, plopping a 23-year-old into a locker room where the average age is 18, 19, and I actually think the exact opposite.
When you enhance your team with an older guy, I look at that as a positive. When they're serious students that are here for a purpose, then it's a fit. We've been the beneficiaries of guys like Reed Buchanan and Matt Welch, for example. Those are really two outstanding people that really pushed us to another level. They were hungry to work hard and appreciative of the opportunities.
I'm just so happy that I made this decision, and I'm so proud to be a Portland Pilot. This has definitely been the best decision in my life. At Minnesota, I had a lot of ups and downs, more downs than ups. I gambled to come across the country. I dropped everything. I dropped my friends, my family back in Minnesota just to pursue running. And I came to one of the best schools in the country for running, and I had the opportunity to look at and look up to Jeff and Nick and Manu and what they've done to be as successful as they are. It was hard not to race, because I wanted to race alongside my teammates. I came in, they welcomed me like family, and I really appreciate that. And out on the course, I was dying. I was dead at 6K. I was moving backwards, and Caleb passed me, and I just hooked on to Caleb, and he drove me all the way home. And coach was just like, 5 more. And I saw these white shorts, and I was like, I need to do this for the fam. For the fam. Sorry, Minnesota, but this is my new fam right here. This is my new fam.
When you get that special guy who has leadership and he wasn't able to use it back at his own team maybe, when he gets here and he feels appreciated, he sees the team atmosphere that we have, it enhances him as well.
Whether it's what they've done on the field, but even more importantly, what they've contributed off the field, I think having those players be able to come in and be a part of our program has been a huge asset for us.
It was cool for me coming from a school where my classes were 500 to 1,000 people, where I literally never had interaction with my teachers. My teachers coming up to me here, not me even going up to them, which was really cool.
Academically, it's been cool actually. It's very different from undergrad, just the work and the kind of work you're doing. It just gives you a chance to really network and get to know your classmates. I pick the brains of my classmates all the time, especially the working professionals. You learn just as much from them as you do from the actual course itself.
Portland is becoming a place where you can come and have a 1 or 2 year post-grad experience and start to tie yourself into internships with Nike or some of the sports franchises here. And so I think it's really attractive, not just for the soccer programs, but all options.
The friends that I've made and the people that I've met are people that I'm going to kind of be, involved with for hopefully the rest of my life. That's pretty rare to find in 1 year. Go somewhere where you think you're going to be a part of a family that is bigger than the sport that you're part of.
So to any grad transfer, figure out what's important to you. For me, it wasn't going to the biggest school. It was about finding my fit. I think University of Portland was that fit. And I really think it's a great spot. Just like I said, the intimacy, the genuineness here. You know, you feel the love and support around you at all time. You know, I'm across the country from my home, but I feel like I'm right at home. And I've felt that way since I stepped on campus.
The score stands how it started, 0 apiece at Merlot Field. It's been a dramatic game so far. Nothing has hit the back of the net, but both teams will certainly be trying. It's been such a fun one so far. Ange, what have you thought about that first half? It was certainly fun.
Yeah, absolutely a great engaging game of half of soccer to watch, and really when it comes down to it and you're looking at the stats, a really evenly matched game. You know, the Huskies out shooting the Pilots 6-5, but in the big one, shots on goal, Portland coming up 3-1, so really only forcing Tesouris into 1 save to Fowler's 3. Other than that, when you look at the possession, we've got a possession total. Portland just has the slight edge, about 51% to UW's 49%, so we expect more of the same in the second half.
Portland has given up 0 goals in second halves this season, while Washington has scored 7.
Washington scored 7, and then you've got the 3 that they've scored in their overtime period. So 10 of the Huskies' 15 goals coming in the 46th minute or later. So Portland, again, looking to try to stay disciplined defensively in this second half and look for their opportunities on the counter.
We're going to go back to break, but when we come back, the final 45 of a great match, UP versus UW. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Merlo Field for the second half of action between the University of Portland and the University of Washington. Both teams trotting back out into the pitch. They will switch sides. Washington in their white kits will now be attacking right to left, while Portland in their beautiful purple will be attacking left to right. Still a 0-0 game here at Merlo, and you touched on it before the break. 3 shots on goal to 1 in favor of Portland. So while Washington may have more valuable possession deep inside Portland territory, it's still relatively 50-50 in the possession category as a whole. But 3 shots on goal is 3 shots on goal. You can't complain with that.
Oh, absolutely. But now it's down to Portland looking to say, okay, we've got our 3 shots. We haven't really had to make Fowler from the Huskies work for those saves. He's been pretty good. The shots have been more or less at him. He's done a good job of, dictating the direction of his backs. And so now it's like, what can we do to make Fowler work for his saves? If he's going to make saves and we're going to get these shots on him, we got to make him work for him.
Fowler, 3 saves this game, gives up just about over half a goal per game. 3 goals against in now 5.5 games if you include the opening 45. Heroes 20 saves on the season, 2 clean sheets, and a save percentage at .850. Awfully good right there. Has had the UW starting position since his freshman year in 2019. He captured that halfway through the season. Was the first freshman started since 2002 and is now the all-time UW postseason clean sheet holder. On the other end, we touched on it pre-game. George Tassoris looking for revenge from his time at Grand Canyon University last year. Not even last year, some 5-6 months ago in May. He was the keeper for Grand Canyon when they lost 2-0 to Washington in the first round. So if he can get a result with his new team, he'll be doing Grand Canyon a service as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the best part about Tassouri that I've seen so far in the first half is really, again, with Cortiz's absence, really managing the back line, managing the defensive part of the midfield. And as you want for a goalkeeper, never getting too high. When the moments are great, your team is up and attacking, you're not letting the emotions get too high. And when you're under pressure, you're under attack, and you're not getting too low. So really kind of managing the emotions of himself and his teammates around him to just stay disciplined and stay the course that Carlin Boyd has set for them.
Tevez starts the affair from the center circle. Soto dribbled up a tad, and now he's back on the ball. Portland, not quite the starting 11 from earlier. Bonilla, who's a sub, Nava, who is a sub, both in to start the second half. Tevez takes a strong challenge from behind RJ Stretch. Not a huge fan of it. Looks like he was tripped up afterwards, too. It's also not Stretch, that's O'Hara.
Yeah, it happens right in front of the UW bench. Gets a large round of jeers. But again, when you look at that tackle, you look at everything coming through, there's nothing, it's a good hard play, but there's nothing inherently dirty about it, but it is still a foul.
Tevez, who's hovering over the ball, collected nearly every award he could last year. Semi-finalist in the Mac Herman watch list, Pac-12 first-teamer All-American, one of 5 unanimous All-Americans. He was, for his standards, quiet in the first half, but maybe that O'Hara tackle lit a fire under him.
We'll see.
If you're a Portland fan, you're probably not hoping so. Cosa Renenzi takes the throw-in. Scardinia back into the game. Quickly fed back into the box.
And this right here is exactly what UW wants. They don't want Portland to come up in that initial moment. They wanted to try to capitalize on that chaos, and Portland had managed this transition moment well. Win the ball, get it forward.
It's like Cambridge thought about dummying the ball past him. Instead takes it up, and the pass to Hendel is a little bit behind. Hendel, the German, certainly had influence on his flank. Ostrom will now get a better view on this side of the talented fullback. Double-digit assists from a defender position last year. Large reason why he won Pac-12 Player of the Year. Makes a bad pass there, though. And Frankel gives it back to O'Hara. Tassoris will be closed down. Awfully close to being deflected. He has to feed it out of play.
The rare miscue from Tassoris. He's been so good with both feet all season in his distribution. And just that little bit of pressure, you saw him get kind of back on his heels on that clearance.
linesman and head ref Cedric Adams had to think about which position the ball was going to go. And Dell was fighting for it. He won a throw-in for his team as well after the Tassoreese mistake. Frankel comes to take it. Cedric Adams sets him straight, tells him to go back a couple of yards. Probably makes it up on the run-up anyway. And Dell sticks in a boot, comes back to grab it, gets past one really well, now progresses it up. Pass, not as good as the defending though. Bonilla up, trying to pressure Ostrom. Ostrom running through the middle. Gives it to Tevez. Tevez, dangerous as always, sends a shot high, about face level for Tassoreese. That's the second shot on goal of the game for Washington.
And yeah, Tevez comes through, starting to see a little bit more of the dynamic attack that he brings into the Huskies here. Gets a player off the dribble and looks for that opportunity and has a rip. Not too difficult, though, for Tassoreese.
A lot of power on the shot, and he did have to collect well because Miglietti was the closest player if there was a rebound.
Can't spill those.
Bonilla. Ball through to Cambridge. He's fast. Can he get there? Cross chopped at. Impressive to even get there, but he's into the advertising boards.
It's a great effort from him, and this is again now where his teammates really have to get back, cover for him, stymie the attack right now, slow it down so that he can get back and recover.
Portland often put all 11 behind the ball in the first half. Cambridge and Prairie were the only ones not doing that so. Tevez, ball in. Miglietti trying to jump over the back of Rodwell. The New Zealander does well. Soto to Tevez. His one-tap pass isn't there. But he is going to take the throw in. Emmanuel Rosales there to defend. A U18 Mexican international, has 4 games for the Cruz Azul U20 team. 1 goal versus Cal State Fulton and an assist last game against Seattle U. Hoping to make a second half impact. Miglietti, one of the bigger forwards on the West Coast. And he's someone who started 28 games for the Sounders Academy. He's been with UW for a while. Started all but 1 game this season. Had the opening goal of the 2021 campaign against UC Davis. Something that Jamie Clark has said is a pest for defenders. He likes to play through the middle and use his figure.
Oh, absolutely. You can see that, especially as you compare him to the 2 Portland center backs. He really does kind of drift between the 2 of them and use that size to his advantage.
Yeah, he's definitely bigger than Rodwell. Has about 4 years on Rodwell as well. And just looking at the pitch, when you see number 8, it's almost always in between the 2 center backs. While everyone else is moving around him like a party, he's there at the top.
And that's just such smart positioning on his part.
It keeps them honest.
Well, you're not making it easy on him when you're at that point. You know, you're not making it easy for somebody to stand next to you and mark you.
Scardino was trying to find Miglietti right there. Soto feeds it back in. Out wide with Burks. There's a couple of marauding runs. Here comes the cross, it's low. Tevez has it, shot deflected, not out of danger yet, punched away, just far enough that Washington doesn't have to deal with. Looks like O'Hara collided with his own keeper. He's down, so is Tassoreese.
And this is a tremendous effort here, and I believe, I'm looking at that, as Pierre on that slide. Really well done, get the ball, get in front, harass the defender, and you're not coming in boots over the ball, anything that's gonna make the referee take a second look in his head at what you've done.
Yeah, it looks like Tassoreese landed on his own man, O'Hara. That was the cause for the injury. All is well, though, as play resumes. Good cross in, Tassoreese catches strongly. Cambridge sprinting up the left, trying to start the break. And Dell's going to drag it up with him. playing a ball across into the midfield. Now with Bonilla, a little bit of space, and Pereira as a runner. Picture perfect pass. That one not as so, but maybe Bonilla can clean up. Fowler, not a strong boot. Good touch by the center back to take on Tevez. Tevez usually the one doing that, not the other way around.
UW really has come out more aggressive, more strong, really trying to get after this Pilot back line early. I think that's part of the key to their success, is that they really do try to wear their teams out to pull the vulnerabilities out of tiredness and tired legs and tired minds as the half goes on.
In 6 games this season, they've scored 10 goals after the halftime mark. 3 of those being in an overtime period as well, but they're not a bad first half team, but they're certainly a second half team.
Absolutely.
Jamie Clark has the fitness levels high.
Just relentless here so far, the first 9 minutes of the half, and they just have not let up on this Pilot team and given them really a chance to kind of breathe.
Good low shot. Rosales takes 1 bounce.
And that's really good from Jalen Rodwell. You see him come across, and he's about to stick his foot in there to maybe get a block on it, but Tesouris calls him off, and it's an easy one into Tesouris' arms.
Good communication by the back line. To reset, Washington are looking for, well, they're working on their best start in some years. They're currently 6-0, which is their best start since 2006. In 2006, they won 8 straight. Jamie Clark in his 11th season, 134, 50, and 20. He's had Washington as the #1 team in the country twice. Tesouris elects to chest it and make Tevez close him down before he's going to pick it up. Jamie Clark, 3 Pac-12 Coach of the Years. He's had 21 players drafted to MLS clubs, and probably a couple of more on this squad, including Ostrom and Tevez, who are both on the Mac Herman watch list. Here's the man we speak of. Tevez gets beaten by Hendel. Hendel's going to go up the line. Cambridge was closest, but Ostrom's going to restart the dangerous Washington attack.
The big difference here for UW in the second half is, as we saw in the later parts of the first half, really dropping behind the halfway line, defending in their own half, and now they're not giving Portland any kind of breathing room when they win the ball to try to build up. They're really pushing that issue, pushing the issue, trying to push the turnover again right after Portland wins it back.
Bonilla, stressful situation. He's defending well one-on-one. Ball inside, sailed over the bar. A dangerous chance by the University of Washington. That was Nick Scardina on the attempt.
And that's probably been the best look that they've had. Here's Ostrom, great pass by him, and Scardina, this is, even though it's not a shot on frame for the Huskies, that's been their most dangerous attack and the one that the Pilots have had to do the most with.
A player we haven't seen too much this season as RJ Stretch checks out. Number 16, Greg Tracy checks in. He's been around this University of Portland program since 2018. Plenty of games to his name, but this season hasn't played since the 2nd game of the season. Started the first 2, didn't play against Oregon State, and hadn't played since then, but good to see Tracy back out there.
And Fofana will come into the game, get back up top. He's coming on for Cambridge, so just a lot of options here for Carlin Voigt to continue to try to go at this Husky back line.
Bonilla loses out on the header to Tesouris. It's going to be a Washington throw. Ostrom. Ostrom, who had 11 assists last season. That was the most by a Husky since 1998. Up to the 2nd most in the nation. Had 3 assists against UCLA alone. University of Portland looking for their 2nd Pac-12 win against a Pac-12 opposition, I should say. Edge of the box shots, a curler. What a save by Tesouris! This time cleared out. Referee says no on the aftermath. There's a player in the box, but Tesouris had to stretch out for that one. If he's an inch shorter, he's not making that save. Washington coming again. Stretch at the top of the box. Frankel gets past one well, as Bonilla in front of him is going to take him up. Trying to feed up to Fofana. Next stoppage, we'll have a look at that save. Matassa Reese playing Superman there.
And UW doing absolutely what they need to do. In Portland, this is what they need to continue to work on, is manage those transition moments. UW capitalizes on the chaos on the near sideline, and it was Scardina breaking through with that rip of a shot.
Here comes Soto. Miglietti. Burks to the right. It's with the fullback now. Tries the same move he did on Hendel in the first half, this time unsuccessful. Hendel the winner, but the pass doesn't get over to Nava.
And here's Scardina just having an absolute rip at this ball, and you look at Tesouris.
A ton of spin on that ball, Ange, too.
Yeah, bending it in, and that's just tremendous athleticism and just a terrific read on the shot. If Tesouris does not read that coming off his foot and take the step the moment he's coming off his foot, he's not saving that. That is tremendous. That could be the save of the season for the Pilots.
Fowler being an extension of the back line. It's almost at the midway line, getting it past Fofana. Cedric Adams, a push there by, I believe, Greg Tracy. And Tracy, who came in for RJ Stretch in the midfield. So the two midfielders right now are Frankel and Tracy, Nava and Bonilla, and Pereira, I should say, out wide. And Hendel, who's playing that left mid position in defense, they're almost a 5-back with how far back Hendel is playing.
They really are. They're almost a 5. It's 5-1-3-1 kind of right now if you're looking at the shape, if you're trying to look to see where the lines are. So Portland really shifting right now, trying to kind of, in years we see Stretch come back in, definitely needs to get back in and shore up this middle of the park for the Pilots, but really trying to kind of staunch the bleeding right now. The Huskies are having a lot of joy going at this Pilot back line, so just a couple quick shift in tactics there for Portland to try to manage it.
And Luke Hendel certainly had a shift to put in on that left side. Just his third start of the season. 1 assist against Air Force, 1 assist against UC San Diego, but this would certainly be the biggest assist of the season if he can get one tonight. We're 2/3 done with the game. UW have been the aggressors in the opening 15 in the second half. First half, Portland outshot in terms of shots on goal University of Washington. It was a relatively even half as well. Possession 51-49. Advantage was played by Cedric Adams, but he's going to go back to the spot. Call it 35 to 40 yards away from net. Set piece opportunity nonetheless. Just getting the feeling of first goal is probably going to do it.
Yeah, there's not much between these teams right now, and you know, it really is going to be that one goal, I think, is going to do it, and I don't think we're going to see it until the later stages of this half.
Tevez runs past it. Ostrom. Good ball in. Right up to the 6-yard box. It's in. A looping header by Burks gets every Husky off their feet and celebrating in the corner. That's not the one you thought UW was going to score.
It's the curse of the commentator.
But they all count the same. A looping header by the fullback Burks, his second of the season, second in as many games. Here's another look at it.
And these high looping balls are so difficult to manage for goalkeepers in the back line, not only on the serve in, but you see just that header coming up over the top of Tesouris, and just difficult to read. He just misses it, and it just kind of bounces just right off the line, and that's the difference right now.
Make that 8 second-half goals on the season for the University of Washington. Kendall Burks did it against Seattle to score the first, does it against another Pacific Northwest rival right here. The Tacoma Washington product doing it for his home Pac-12 school. All-region second team last year, has been good defensively. Has now 5 goals in 2 seasons as the primary starter.
And this is just the intensity that UW has brought to this second half. The first 15 minutes really pushing the Portland back line, not, as I mentioned several times at this point, giving them any kind of breathing room. And that's really made the difference for this Husky team.
There's going to be a set piece for Portland now in a dangerous position. Fofana won it for the University of Portland. If you want some precedents, let's say a University of Portland fan listening, watching, whatever you're doing, Washington went up 1-0 in each of the last 2 games. Opposition, Seattle U and Utah Valley, both tied it up at 1 and took the Huskies to overtime. What happened in overtime doesn't matter right now, but they are capable and susceptible of conceding late.
Well, and Portland just has to believe at this point. They really have to borrow the Ted Lassoism, to really think that there's a goal in this half for them, and really start to say, okay, how can we turn the tide? How can we get off of our back foot? UW has clearly pushed us into our own defending, not even our half, our own defending third. So really they have to do a little bit better at solving those problems in transition and trying to turn the tide against the Huskies.
They've had little time deep inside Husky territory, but now is a chance. Hendel's going to be over the ball, taking the set piece from on the far side of the pitch. They were down 2-0 and won 3-2 in regulation against Seattle. More difficult opponent, yes, but less of a mountain to climb. Hendel, low cross in. Maybe it was a shot. Only he'll know. Bonilla gonna give it out left. There are Portland bodies there. Robin heads it away. Frankel over by 2, gets pushed and squished. That's gonna be another set piece this time. A little bit closer to the end line. Frankel does really well there. I mean, that's probably the best outcome he could have hoped for.
Absolutely. Frankel just gets out here, and you can see, just tries to play it through. Both players get their knees up, just trap him in there, make it hard for him to go through, and that's absolutely a foul.
Frankel, the one who won the set piece. If my eyes are correct, he's going to be the one standing over it as well. He is. 63rd minute, Portland responded well against Seattle. After they went up 2-0, they scored within 5 minutes. Have to do the same here against Washington. That set piece not a good one.
Definitely didn't come off probably the way that it was drawn up in terms of ball placement.
Bonilla linking up with Pierre. Out of the cross in. Didn't really threaten the frame of net, had a lot of pace behind it.
Just an overdriven cross there, and just looking to get the heads up a little bit earlier, try to find where those opportunities are, and from there it's going to be hard to score if that was the intent on what was going on. There you're looking for probably a curler, not necessarily a driven ball, but one that's going to curl away from the goalkeeper into the back corner of the goal box.
Talking about the defensive shape being a 5-back, quite literally seconds before the goal. Do you think that changes now they're 1-0 down?
Yeah, I think that, Portland has to shift and try to get more numbers forward, because again, UW has really been pushing the issue, pushing the pressure, and Portland hasn't been able to get out of their own third, and they need players up the field to do that in order to pass to, because it's just been earlier, right now it's Fofana, earlier it was Cambridge.
O'Hara booted out of the pitch and out of the whole facility as he comes in for a strong sliding challenge again. He got Soto after the ball. Corner coming. Tevez is going to take. We haven't had too many corners in this affair.
Remarkably, haven't seen an offside yet either.
It's a good call. Only one yellow card in the opening half as well. Tevez, in-swinger, really close line, hits off the crossbar. Could have been another awkward looping header again for Tasser Reese.
And this is a great look now by Tevez. Just loops it into that near post, and that's a great opportunity for the Huskies. Those near post opportunities are so difficult, again, to defend. UW playing it right where it's going to be difficult for Portland to really try to find that counter, but those near posts, those glancing headers that go away and behind are so difficult to defend against on those crosses. It's if you're a U.S. Women's National Team fan, that's a Julie Ertz goal, corner kick goal.
Nava and Bonilla not on the same page there. And Angie, you talked about pre-game not wanting Ostrom to get going. He had had an assist last game against Seattle, now has an assist against Portland.
Yeah, and that kind of service, it's such a hard thing to perfect. Usually you see driven balls in there, but those just really high looping balls, really difficult to track, really difficult to manage, and make it really easy to create chaos in the opposing team's penalty area if you can manage it.
And we talked about the size being a huge factor for the back line, and that's usually in defense of corners and defensive set pieces, but Burke's right there. He's 6'2", a fullback, a rarity in all levels of soccer. Just got up there on the far post and looped it in. Scardina. Through ball, not good. Had the right idea, but the runner wasn't there. 66th minute, Portland down 1-0 via the Burks goal from the Ostrom assist. May as well call that a Washington special, a fullback assist to a fullback goal. Both teams, this is their last non-conference game before they open conference play. Fofana can't reach the ball on the far side of the pitch. Next for Washington, they end a, albeit very close to home, 3-game road trip. Seattle. Utah was far away, granted, but Seattle, Portland, you're not doing too much. You're certainly not getting in a plane.
Sure.
While for Portland, they begin their WCC campaign next. For Washington, they open their Pac-12 campaign on September 30th, 6 days against San Diego State. And for not huge West Coast college soccer fans, Pac-12, there's only 6 teams. San Diego State, Oregon State, Stanford, UCLA, Washington.
And Portland now starting to kind of show some signs of life and pressing, really trying to look for, these opportunities to put the Huskies on the wrong foot, and that's the first step right there.
The new Portland head basketball coach, Shante Leggins, on the sideline with the Portland mascot. Good to see support from all the different programs here from UP Athletics. Hopefully he can bring a good luck charm here and a UP goal. 68th minute, outswinger off the corner, header. Man, good contact, even got it low, but Fowler could keep his feet planted.
And that was such a clean look for Rodwell. Came through completely unmarked, and man, what an opportunity there. Does well to get it on frame, and look at him coming out of that. He's so annoyed with himself. Just a little bit of a change of direction on his head, and that one's going by Fowler.
Fofana was inches away from deflecting the ball as well, if only. 68th minute, you can only hope if you're the Portland Pilots right now. They're down 1-0. See if they can execute those hopes.
And this is interesting now from UW, retreating into this defensive shell.
Nava's there, shot, save! 2 clean looks on net of Fowler. Washington certainly is retreating.
And that's exactly what I asked of Portland coming out of halftime. You've made Fowler make some saves, but really haven't tested him, really haven't made him work for those opportunities, work for those saves to keep the ball to the back of the net, and that's a tremendous save from Fowler to keep the clean sheet going.
Clock is going to be stopped as Hendel had looked like an intentional challenge from behind. He's going to get a yellow for it. We're going to take a look at the Nava strike.
And that's a second for Hendel, by the way.
Another red card for Portland first. Here's Nava's shot. Goes to the right of Fowler. Doesn't have to dive too much, but
he's got to read it through traffic, and that's just, again, that's the exact kind of thing you want to see if you're a Pilot fan, is just making him make a save that is anything other than straight at him, and Fowler having to look and see that shot through traffic and make that save, 1, and 2, put it in an area where Fofana or any one of the other Portland players that are waiting to poach a rebound can't get to it.
And Portland have a problem here. 10 men down a goal to the number 3 team in the country. They couldn't score a goal with 10 men against an 0-7 Cal State Northridge. is going to be and with Hendel there, I frankly forgot he was on that first yellow, and that was an intentional challenge by all means.
It absolutely was, and it was just a foolish challenge by him. It's absolutely warranted, and he'll head to the locker room from here. Just not entirely sure what he was thinking on that. Obviously, it's a tactical play. You're trying to slow the play down. You're trying to do that, but you're already on a yellow card. You cannot afford to do that, especially with the kind of game that he's been having. He's been outstanding and been outstanding in the attack for Portland.
Scardina really does really go to the end line, sets up a shot for Tevez, which sails over. Hendel's night is over. He's frankly having a really good game before that. He's playing a big part in the defense as well as his normal attack. 2 years ago, at a team high 5 goals. Last season had 2 in the shortened campaign. Casares gonna boot it away. As we're into the 70th minute. Portland's very susceptible to conceding another now with 10 minutes still having to score a goal. Soto. Scardina's gonna run upon it. Tries the overlap. Instead, it's here with the back post. Diving header.
My goodness, O'Hara just with enough on it to disrupt the path slightly out of Ostrom's way.
Portland's best chance right now has to be the pace up top. Fofana, Cambridge, Nava, the likes. Be probably playing a lot of long balls with just 20 minutes left. Hopefully the stamina and fitness levels are still there for Nick Carlin-Voigt.
Well, it's going to be Fofana on his own up top now, with Portland dropping 4 back into the midfield, and bringing back Pierre back into the back line to fill into Handel's position. So it's really going to be on Fofana finding those opportunities to go. Maybe he's going to drop back, give Frankel an opportunity to go. Look for Nava for an opportunity to play up top, or Pereira. There's got to be a rotation between those 3 guys.
Through ball drops to Tevez. He'll leave it to the edge of the box. Curling shot coming into the stands. We're going to take a look at that red card from a couple of minutes ago. Ball.
So here's Hendel just coming through from behind. That's a reckless challenge. He's on a yellow card already, and that's the definition of a reckless challenge, and that's going to be the second yellow for Hendel and why he was sent off.
Yeah, there's nothing you can complain about there if you're Hendel, and didn't look like he did.
You can be frustrated, but that's definitely something that you have to think about as you're playing the game, is the kind of decisions that you make, and that's what UW does really well in terms of wearing a team down. That's a mental mistake from a tired player, and Hendel really has worked his socks off the entire game, and it's been absolutely great for Portland, and that's just a mental mistake that he makes because he's tired. He's been running up and down the field for, at that point, almost an hour.
And Portland's been a really disciplined team this year, but in the last two red cards. Nick Carlin-Voigt can only sigh and look at that stat. It's a tremendously challenging, if you're facing an 0-7 team, if you're facing the number 3 team in the country with 10 men. You practice tactics all week with 11, then you go to 10, you're desperate, you're struggling.
Well, it's discipline now, and this was the one of the keys to the game for me at the start, is that Portland, again, has to go back to their discipline. When you're mentally tired, you have to continue to make sure that you're taking care of the little things and that you're keeping your shape and filling the spot where you need to be just as well as you would if it was 11 men.
Everyone will have to do that a little bit more work. Frankel over to RJ Stretch. Clive's Army will certainly keep cheering on their pilots. Stretch and Frankel playing a give and go as RJ Stretch slips and almost takes out Cedric Adams. No yellow card there. I think the intent was less than Hendel's. Nava. Over to Ortiz, who's freshly checked in. Portland may transition to more of a 3-back, with Ortiz, who's capable of playing forward and a 4-back. When they're not in possession, he'll be defending. When they are, he'll be full on attack.
Yeah, and that's not a bad shout there from Carlin-Voigt to really try to get those numbers forward, because the opportunities are here. The opportunity to equalize is here for Portland.
They've been stringing together passes, certainly, on the edge of the box. First time cross comes in, Saylor is there. Stretch back to Bonilla. Bonilla attempted to give and go with Nava. Got caught up in the turf monster, gives it back. Frankel to the inside. Here's the hometown kid. 1-2 with Fofana. Back to Booba Fofana. Nava gets it back after the deflection. Hesitates with the pass. Bonilla eventually takes it up. Ortiz to Bonilla. Bonilla across the frame of goal. No one's there. Well, they were just a little bit behind them.
All the players had drifted to the near side there as the Pilots were in possession, and absolutely nobody running through the penalty spot or into the back post for Portland.
Promising by the Pilots, but that's not going to do it. You need a little bit more than that. Now, seemingly 3 runners all going toward the near post in a line, and no one was out back.
Portland's going to continue to have opportunities like that over the next 15 minutes. And they really have to look to take a little bit better advantage of these opportunities here.
Here's the chance again. Really good pass by Ortiz. Gives it back to Bonilla. Fofana, Ortiz, and one other were on the near side while it falls to the back post to Nick Scardinia. He's going to check out. In comes Gabe Threadgold. Picked up an injury in the first. Good to see him back.
And it's Scardina now that's going to hit the bench for UW, who's had just a tremendous game so far. And even over the goal that UW scored, had probably the opportunity of the game for the Huskies that was saved by Tesouris.
Yeah, maybe the soccer guys just awarded the goal after that one probably should have been.
Yeah.
Can it fall to Soto? It does. Into Tevez. Can he get around the keeper? He does. That's 2-0. UW look like they're taking this one in Portland. Second goal of the season for Tevez.
And that's the goal he's been looking for to get him going. And what an absolutely tremendous heads-up play on that pass in. Seeing him isolated on the back shoulder of the Portland defender. And you look and what a wonderful pass in there from Soto. And that's a nice one-time finish there from Tevez.
Might have actually been, I can't tell, but it might have been Kosa Renenzi.
It is Kosa Rienzi.
I got the 6 and the 9 mixed up there. He's someone who doesn't have a goal this year, doesn't have a ton of...
And picked a great time to start scoring for the Huskies. And again, just gets himself isolated on the back shoulder of, I couldn't tell who that was for Portland, but does a really good job. I think it was Bonilla he had him against, and just a tremendous heads-up play on the assist to look at, get your head up, find that ball, and get an absolutely inch-perfect ball into Kosa Rienzi.
Kosa Rienzi, actually the first goal of his UW career. Played last year, still technically a freshman. 3 assists last season. Now 1 assist and 1 goal this year. But that play certainly made by Soto, who had defenders on him, played a first-time pass, and ended in a goal.
And that's Portland just getting caught in the counter there. And, you know, when you're down a player, you're trying to manage it. You're trying to make sure that you're trying to fill those spots, as I keep talking about. You know, those quick opportunities from the other team. And again, that's Soto, just a tremendous job of getting his head up before he even got the ball, taking a picture of what was in front of him, and seeing Kosa Rienzi making that run off the back shoulder of his defender, and again, trying to find that inch-perfect ball in, which he played.
Portland playing with house money at this point. House money and 10 men after the Hendel red card. If the result stands, Washington will win 2 on the bounce against the University of Portland. To the end line, Tesouris there to clean up. Portland, their last tournament appearance was 2018, in Nick Carlin-Voigt's tenure, and they have 2 appearances. Where they're at right now, fringe. They have a competitive WCC campaign coming up, where they'll certainly face some good teams. Royal Marymount, San Diego. some of them.
Well, they put together a pretty good slate of preseason or off-schedule, off-conference games for themselves that are really going to give them the opportunity to make a run.
Curling shot left-footed edge of the box.
To make a run at the league title. They've challenged themselves. They've had really good opportunities to play against some very good teams and, you know, find some things out about themselves that are going to push them going into the WCC season.
Bonilla checking out, Cambridge coming in. 13 minutes to go. Portland down 2-0 to Washington. Coming into tonight, Portland's overall record versus the Huskies, 19-28-4 at Merlot Field, 11-14-1. Perhaps their biggest game since 2018 when they beat UCLA in the first round of the tournament. And there was questions about Portland coming into this, a disappointing loss at Cal State Northridge. Can the defense get back to dominance? You have to say, with the 2 goals, yes, the second came from open play, but it was almost a set counterattack with how beautiful that pass was. The defense has relatively done a good job against the Huskies.
They've managed the game well, they've managed the game effectively, and they've limited the chances of good opportunities. UW has certainly had opportunities throughout this game, but Portland has done a really nice job of limiting the good opportunities and holding this Husky team in check.
Corner coming for Washington, far side of the pitch. It's going to be an in-swinger. Soto goes to trouble toss, Reese at the near post. Head doesn't get to it. Nava getting past the jungle, but ultimately gets caught up in the trees. Now here's Washington. Into the box. A lot of new bodies in for both teams right now. Fresh legs for Portland. Michael Hatcher has only played 2 games this season, a minute in each game. Played against Seattle. Getting some significant playing time here. Also, Gurmain Senga coming into the game. One of the best players in the ACC in his 3 years at Memphis. Hit an all-ACC second team, won an ACC championship, all-ACC rookie team. We're going to do the same in the WCC. 2 starts this season. Looking to play a part in the final moments of this game. If you're Nick Carlin Voigt, you have film session tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more post-game, although we won't have too much time as there's a good deflection by Hatcher. What is the one thing, the biggest thing they need to work on?
I really think it's just, they actually don't have too much, but I think, again, it's just managing these transition moments, not giving up the fouls where they are having a huge impact on the game. Obviously, the foul that led to the first goal that, you know, changed the momentum, that continued to push the momentum in the Huskies' favor. And then certainly Hendel's second foul, just the decision there, trying to find, you know, how does Hendel get put in that decision to make the decision he does, put in the position to make the decision to make that tackle he does on a yellow card. So I think it's just trying to find those moments where Portland can be more disciplined in how they're going after the game.
Good header in.
The first goal for the Huskies, obviously absolute game changer, and they've been pushing for it and had the better of the half of the first 15 minutes of the second half. But Hendel's second yellow and the subsequent red card absolutely changed the course of this game.
O'Hara hits it off his own man, and it's going to fall to the goal scorer, Kosa Rienzi. Now a foul in a spot. We haven't seen a lot of these set pieces where it's a clear opportunity to put one on net. Portland won't want this to get ugly. We'll see who's going to step up. Here's another look at the foul.
And Kagramanian comes in here just a little late, a little reckless, pulls his feet up, and I'm not sure what he's having to say to the referee about that, because as he comes in, you can just see it clearly on the replay. He just kind of slides and throws his feet up into the air, and I don't know how he doesn't want the referee who's standing right there to make that call. So this is what I'm talking about, just the decisions like this when you're tired late in the game. How are you managing the game? What is your discipline like?
Yeah, from open play, when Portland had 11, which is a big caveat, they were really good defensively. The set piece, excellent ball in by Ostrom, and then Burks, good header, got a little bit lucky just with the trajectory of that ball. Didn't really see the net either, and there was 2 pilots between Tasser Reese and the ball.
And when Portland was playing with 11, they had better patience in attack, and that's something that they just need to continue to press for, is that patience in the attack.
Shot high and over.
When UW is pressing, when their opponent's pressing them and getting after them in their defensive third, they have to look to see where's that attack, where's the possession going to come from, and it's usually going to come from a forward checking in from the back line through the midfield and getting your midfielders then kind of running up through to find those balls forward and relieve the pressure.
Atem Kato checking into the game. We'll see who goes. That looks like Kuba Fofana. Less than 8 minutes to go. To recoup, that was Ryan Crowley on the set piece. Good attempt, had good fire behind the ball, but a little bit high. Hard foul there on Ortiz. Clock's going to stop.
And that's a late challenge coming in.
No yell. Elijah Paul was yelling for that ball. He was making a good run. Maybe a little bit of frustration there on the aftermath. There's going to be a yellow. It's Soto who picks up the card, not Paul.
You see Soto just come in late, come in from behind, just a little bit from a reckless position there to try to get the ball. And
a vulnerable position by Ortiz as well. He doesn't see that man coming at all. Ortiz, thankfully, back up on his feet. No injury for him. He played a big part role earlier this season, but since really the Seattle game, maybe one before that against Sacramento State when Bonilla got hurt, it's been a big part of this team. Nick Crowley showing trust in him as a defender and attacker. Labale looks like the point man right now. Now here's a 3-on-4 break. Tevez, who checked out, is back into the game. He's out right. You see the fancy footwork. Up top, Miglietti wound up a shot. But the load up was too long. Crowley started this game, was out for the middle chunk, but now he's back. Ostrom, the left back, all by himself on an island on the near side of the pitch. Washington happy to string together passes.
And I do like the changes that Carlin Voigt's made. He's really given his bench an opportunity to come in and get some valuable minutes against a very, very good team and give them some looks. And again, it's all about honing and refining decision-making and building confidence in the decisions that you do make and finding your opportunities wherever they may come.
Opportunity for a through ball, but Hatcher gets there first. And I mean, good opportunity. Yes, frankly, a lot of them are playing against future pros right here.
Sure.
Ostrom, Tevez, they're guys who are going to go in the MLS draft, if not elsewhere in the world.
Absolutely. But a lot of these Portland players are looking for that same opportunity.
It's a proving ground for them for sure. You often hear it in American football. Ortiz not having fun.
Does get fouled here. You see him as he comes through. He's looking for it. He puts himself in the way. And as he comes through, you see Miglietti come and foul him, but Ortiz just does make a little bit of a meal of it. You know, he can kind of get up and keep going. But Miglietti definitely came through on heavy on that challenge.
Yeah, he's back up, and I think what got some of the jeers was Miglietti offering to help him back up, and Ortiz saying, "No, get out of here."
Yeah.
Less than 5 to go in the contest. Portland down 2. The opening 45 was excellent soccer being played by both halves, but since going down to 10 men and conceding the first goal, UW have been able to coast. Cato over to Nava. Sends it across. It's deflected by Saylor. This will be Jamie Clark's 105th win in his 11th season. Like you said, they are picked narrowly by 2 points to finish second behind Stanford in the six-man Pac-12 conference. They are currently ranked above Stanford, though, only the two teams ahead of them, Clemson and Georgetown. Georgetown number 1, Clemson number 2. Washington receiving 1 vote to be the number 1 team in the country. At the very least, this is a standard game for Portland. You know where you stack up to the current best team in the West Coast.
Absolutely. This is what you want to be. This is who you're going to be competing against. If you make it to the postseason for Portland, this is likely going to be a first-round game for you. So really, what can you take out of this game? What can you learn from it? And push that, have that help propel you through your WCC season.
Clock was stopped for a couple of moments. O'Hara, I think he was injured, frankly, inside the own box, and it was kind of an impeding offsides if he did make contact with that ball. So I think they blew it dead. He looked like he had ankle injury. Back up to his feet, though. Less than 4 to go. Portland kind of defending in a 4-3-2. A lot of ground having to be covered by the 3 midfielders. Guess if you can say one thing, it will feel really good to play with 11 men again.
It's good for the fitness.
Tevez, either the ball or the man. And Tevez was the culprit who got the punishment of the man. Now that we got a moment, may as well read all the accolades that Tevez has going for him this year. He's on the Mac Herman watch list. He was a semifinalist last year. 1 of 5 to be a consensus All-American. All Pac-12 first team, All-Region first team. And the first Husky, 3 assists in a game against UCLA. Also game winner against number 2 Stanford. That's got to feel pretty dang good as well. Tevez with a left-footed in-swinger. Saylor was there. Cato, instead of going long, is going to chip it past 1 and be physical. No foul there. Finds its way back to Scardina. Rienzi. Scardina. Ball chips some grass on the way.
Just would love to have seen a little bit more effort there from Cato, and it looks like Soto that's down there, or excuse me, Ortiz, to block that effort in from Scardina. Just, it was pretty easy for him to get to the end line and cut that ball across, and would love to see either one of them get a foot in there and not allow it.
Crowley. Under Cosa Rienza. 2 minutes to go. After the final whistle here at Merlot Fields, we'll send it back to regularly scheduled programming. Over to Saylor. And with 90 seconds left, is Washington sure to play it around the back and in midfield. What were your general takeaways from this game? For Washington, back to winning ways, back to another clean sheet. For Portland, a testing game, which they ultimately did not pass the test, but they're studying well.
You know, I thought Portland did what they needed to do for about 50-60% of the game. You know, they did all the things. They managed the transition moments. They ensured that they could stop this very transition-heavy Washington attack. They were patient in their attacking moments, especially throughout the first half, and they were disciplined and gritty in defense for probably 60% of the game, and then just a couple moments let them down. And this is really where a team of UW's quality does shine through, their ability to just wear you down and be relentless. And when we talked about how many goals they've scored, coming into this game, they scored 10 of their 15 goals in the 46th minute or later, and now they're just going to add to that total because they just wear you down. And this is what good quality disciplined teams do, is that they find their moments, whether it's a looping free kick that they can put into the Portland penalty area to cause chaos for Kendall Burks to just get up and make something of, whether it's just a brilliant pass from Soto because he's getting his head up and he's aware and he's looking and he can see Cosa Rienzi making that run. That's what good quality teams do, and that's what this UW team will continue to do throughout the Pac-12. So again, for Portland, it's just about trying to do all of these little things well and put it together, because if there is going to be an opportunity for them to play in the NCAA tournament, it's likely going to be against this UW team.
Excellent point by my broadcasting partner, Angela Harrison. Thank you for joining us from Merlot Field. The final score reads 2-0 in favor of the number 3 team in the country, the Washington Huskies, to move to 7-0, while the University of Portland moved to 5-4 on the campaign. Thanks for joining us on the WCC Network. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining.